And we are back. Thank you so much for sharing a drink with us this morning. And
let's get into next story. So a Reddit user posted, subject was claim rejected. Insurance says to open a new one. This is one of the most common things we actually get. So they said, North Texas, Liberty Mutual, massive hailstorm. There's clearly damage on my roof, but my insurance rejected the initial claim. My contractor didn't even get on the roof with the adjuster, which I later learned was a big mistake. That's definitely a mistake. I started working with another roofer, and they talked to the insurance company, and the insurance said we should open a new claim. Is that standard procedure to reopen a claim if it's the same event? Why are they saying we should open a new one? And are there any downsides to doing it this way if there is already a rejected claim? Don't file a new claim. Hire a PA. That's it. Hire a public adjuster.
I think the one caveat to that is if it's a new date, because we have had.
Don't do it. Don't do it.
Go ahead, public adjuster.
I'll tell you why. We deal with this all the time. Okay.
So what's the best?
So first off, there's why are they telling you file a new claim? Desk adjusters or insurance adjusters, the ones you're typically dealing with, are paid a salary, right? They're not paid commission. They're not incentivized to do anything. They are given, call it 60 to 100 claims that they have to deal with. The only benefit they get at their job is when a claim closes and they don't have to deal with it anymore. If you file a new claim, it goes to a new adjuster and it's off their desk. And we've noticed this trend, especially as they've got rid of independent adjusters and have gotten a lot more desk adjusters. This trend has got worse than ever, where insurance adjusters, their default is file a new claim. It gets it off their desk. Take it to appraisal. It gets it off their desk. They just don't want to deal with it anymore. And that's why they're saying it. There are situations where there's a new storm. But what if they open coverage on the first storm? Because a lot of times what we're actually seeing is on that first date, they paid for all the turtle vents, all the valley metals, and some gutters. Right, if we're talking roof claims. And then insurance goes, oh, file a new claim. Well, then you file a new claim. Okay, fine. We finally agree to the shingles, which normally takes an uphill battle anyways. Well, now you have two separate claims. The roof is split 50-50 in reality, and you have a deductible on each one. And if you had $1,000 deductible, okay, now you have a $2,000 out of pocket, fine. But most people, it's like $1,000, and by the time the new storms hit, because deductible's gone way up, now it's like they have $6,000 out of pocket on a $20,000 roof. So there's way more information we need to decide if it's reasonable or not. But Liberty Mutual has done this with us on multiple claims, and guess what happens on the ones we have been? Okay, there's been a new storm. Let's file a new claim. They haven't paid for the roof a single time on the new one either. It was just to get it off their desk. And then we're fighting between two claims, and this adjuster goes, well, I can't help. That's not my claim. And then this adjuster's like, oh, this one's close because there's a new claim. And guess who saves money? The insurance company.
No, I definitely agree with that too, because then sometimes when you got to the point where they pay certain things like the metals, those things can lead into getting a new roof. We've had last year, we've had State Farm. It was such a huge thing where they would just pay for the metals. They wouldn't pay for the shingles. And if you were to open a new claim, well, then you might try to fight the shingles, but the flashing could get you the new roof on that first one.
Any insurance adjusters or any insurance company that listens to this, I want you to know every roofer that takes a roof from valleys to a full roof or from damaged vents to a full roof are not being greedy, and they're not manipulating the system. I hear it all the time. Be like, oh, if we pay for the valley, they're going to get the whole roof. The whole roof's damaged. You're just blind and refuse to assess the damage. Like, the roof is smoked. The only route you gave us is through the valley metal. Yeah, so
definitely. And we can't forget that it's a roofing system, because a lot of times people look at it and they go, oh, it's just that piece. No, it's a system. And the valley metal means when you take that out, there's damaged shingles, there's holes in the underlayment.
Adam, let me ask you, because you've been dealing with a claim recently for the house fire. How has your experience been? Obviously, they're not going to tell you to file a new claim, but have you ran into anything like this on a fire claim about them kind of pushing off responsibility or saying to do things that don't really make sense?
Yeah, they're the pushing off the responsibility. There's right now the going debate is whether it was our fault or not, right? Right.
Why did you set your house on fire?
Right.
Yeah. Why did you set your house on fire? Right. Like so that's the thing. I don't know what the implications will be necessarily, but that's the fight that we're having right now, right? But at the end of the day, there's a loss as a loss. The loss is going to be covered, but what changes when it goes from the hood fan had an arc that caused a fire versus the cooking activity caused the fire? At the end of the day, the loss is going to get covered, but then if they blame it on you, then what? They can say they're not going to cover it because you were cooking and it caught fire?
Let me ask you this, Sam.
Wait, let me answer Adam's question first. They're probably getting paid either way. This is when everyone talks about delaying. Technically, it is the adjuster's job to figure out the cause and what happened and the liability, but that should not delay payment happening. And that's the thing that drives me crazy is so many of these claims, they're like, well, we have to get down to the bottom of it before we can pay. It's like, okay, which ways do you think it was? Well, it was one of these two things. And you're going to pay on both those anyways? Yeah. But then they delay payment for 3 months, 6 months, and everyone knows the longer the insurance company holds the money, they're investing it, they're making money on it. So it's really just a delay tactic to do that.
Question was, do you think there's a motivation in that case with Adam, with the source of the fire? So, for example, if it was fault or no fault, how does that change things for anyone?
Well, if you set your house on fire, you're responsible for it.
Well, I mean, that's the difference between Adam staying here talking and being somewhere else.
Yeah.
but I mean, on the insurance side or policy or cover, does that change anything for them?
And they're actually very smart. That's because those investigations are mind blowing. Someone told me who worked in that department, he said, we will always find if people did, because people think they're smart.
It's all been done before.
The sciences, and I actually have a family member, someone like not me related to, but like extended family, who try to do it. And first thing they do, they look at the financial records.
Oh.
They actually will go through your banking, like, and if you're like in default, if you're not paying your debts, like if you're taking loans, and like they will investigate to the fullest, just to give them like motive. Okay, this guy's losing $300,000 and he's trying to do this.
And I'll tell you right now too, there's some other things they look for. If you got your dog out there, if you had a fire and you get your pets out the house, a lot of times people, when people do arson, they take their pets first. And that's one clear giveaway. I had another guy who was telling me about his arson. He came up here to investigate arson, and he was like, it was a firefighter again. I'm like, what are you talking about? He's like, it's always the firefighters. They think they're so smart. And he goes, most of the time I go see these fires when there's arson, it's usually a firefighter. I was like, seriously? He goes, yeah. And then I was like, well, how do you know? And then they can tell. It was gas up against the side of the house. We have 2 fires we're dealing with right now, and it's crazy how you can walk right into this messy house that's all burnt down and charred, and you can walk right up to the spot and see where it happened and almost figure it out.
It's physics.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Forensics.
And so then they're not really saying it's arson. They're just saying from cooking activities. But
Yeah.
and we're
still
my
in
wife's
defensive
sitting here
mode.
being there's no way that's what caused that fire. So I'll have more updates. It's
In your situation, like it's not like they're going to subrogate it. What are they going to do? Find the person that made the hood fan 20 years ago and go after them for a defect? Like, you know what I mean? It's not going to.
They're going to try to. They're going to try to.
On the extended damage on his, I don't think it's like to that point where they will. But like, if the whole house burnt down, maybe they would. But at the end of the day, it's like.
What is subrogation? That's a word I've never heard.
You said it.
All right. It's more common. You'll see it in like auto claims a lot. But let's say you buy something off TikTok Shop, you plug in the wall, you leave, your house catches on fire. Your insurance company is going to pay you. Fine, your house burnt down. Here, Adam, here's $400,000. But they're going to subrogate. They're going to go back to that TikTok Shop manufacturer and go, hey, you caused this damage. We had to pay out $400,000. You owe us the $400,000 we paid out. Well, then that manufacturer then goes back to the person that supplied that one individual part. Hey, this ended up happening. And so it creates this long trail of people going after trying to get their money.
They want to recoup their money. So they'll pay the claim, but we do the same thing actually at directory.com. So like our job is, if a contract, like we actually did with the claim we paid out in Atlanta, it was a coating product, and we knew that it's going to fail. So I said, I'm going to pay. And I gave my manufacturer, Shingle Magic, I said, my lawyer sent them a letter saying, hey, this is your fault. The system is failing. You denied contractor warranty. We paid it out. We made it right with the homeowner. If you're not going to reimburse us for covering your claim, you will be banned for life. We will never register another project with the Shingle Magic. And I made it official statement. We gave them opportunity. Yeah, like so that would be subrogation. Like you go after, they're not gonna do anything. So, and they lost, which is crazy, right? Because I'm okay working with you, but you have to step up and cover your losses. Like if you messed up, you messed up, and in this case, I would agree that. Well, here's my question to you. I saw your reaction that when contractor, you read the contractor did not go on the claim. So you recommend the contractor's always there?
Yeah. everyone gets this wrong all the time. It drives me mad. It's so okay. Your job on an insurance claim is to prove your loss. Every insurance policy says you must prove your loss, which means, Adam, you must prove to the insurance company that it was an accident, that it caught on fire, the extent of damage, and what the repairs will cost, and what the scope of damages cost. It's your job. And what I see all the time is contractors and homeowners going, especially homeowners do it, but like, it's excusable if a homeowner does it. It's not excusable if a contract does it. Imagine a homeowner files a claim because they have hail that falls and hits their roof, and the next day they file a claim. No representation. And the insurance comes out and goes, what's up? And the homeowner goes, hail hit my roof. I want you to look at it. That insurance company has full right to get on that roof for 2 seconds, go, I don't see anything, and leave because the homeowner didn't fulfill their duty. As a homeowner, you need to prove to the insurance company. Proving it is having a contractor, a professional, go up there, look at it, and show the damage. Speak the language. Go up there and show them, here's damage, here's damage. You have to prove it to the insurance adjuster, normally by extension of a contractor or a public adjuster. Homeowners aren't going to get on their own roof. But if you're a homeowner and you just call your insurance company and go, yeah, there was some wind. I think I lost a couple shingles. I want you to come look. They're not going to pay that claim. You didn't fulfill your duties, and you didn't uphold your part of that agreement.
Right, and it happens all the time. It drives us crazy.
Every day.
I know you see it all the time because we see it all the time where homeowners get up there and they trust the big logo. They trust this company. I've been paying them for 30 years, and they said it wasn't any damage, and you're just a contractor. They said my roof can go 5 more years. They said they'll pay for it next storm.
Never trust the guy that owes you money to tell you how much money he owes you.
Yeah, it happens all the time. Back to that date thing really quick. I did have that too before where they say they come out for hail and then they'll say file another claim for wind.
Mm-hmm. Well,
Right?
yeah, they might have happened on different events.
Gotcha.
Great segment. When we come back after the break, we're going to bring you one more story. Homeowner wrote a negative review and asking if he made the right move. Live in that review. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.